What if I told you that misogyny isn't just about men hating women, but a deliberate system designed to keep all of humanity enslaved? If you're a woman that's ever felt that she's fighting an invisible battle that diminishes your power, no matter how hard you try to keep it, then this video is gonna change everything. Because the truth about the patriarchy and its most powerful weapon is going to set you free. My name is Silvana Kamala. I am a modern Tantra teacher, PhD candidate in Ancestral healing, and the founder of the Venusian Academy. I help women transform their wounds into power with my proprietary method, Venusian Tantra. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the real origins of the patriarchy, how misogyny functions as its primary weapon, and why traditional feminism only scratches the surface. And most importantly, you're gonna learn how to reclaim your authority in a world that is designed to suppress it. Here's what they don't teach you in history books, business classes, or spirituality. The patriarchy wasn't really created because men hate women. The men in power understood something very important about masculine nature, and that is that most men crave hierarchy and status. So they engineered a brilliant control system. They started by dethroning women from their ancient position of divinity, stripped them of their rights, and reduced them to property. But here's the genius part. They gave these controlled men someone that they can feel superior to so they can get the satisfaction of that hierarchy and status. Think about it as a pyramid scheme, but for power. The men in power needed the masses of men below to willingly participate in their own exploitation. So they needed to design a system that made them maybe not resent as much the exploitation and feel as if they're not actually being exploited. By systematically positioning women as below or lesser than, they created a false hierarchy where even the most oppressed man could feel that he was above someone. The controlled men happily submitted to a system that exploited their labor, their bodies, their very souls, as long as they were not at the very bottom. I see this playing out in corporate environments constantly. I also see it in regular society. A mediocre middle manager, completely disempowered by the superiors or his executive team, will unconsciously suppress the woman below him and even the men below him, because it's a form of claiming power whenever you feel like you do not have power. This isn't happening consciously, this is happening at an unconscious level. But he's not the enemy. He's another victim of a system that functions and requires someone to be lesser than in order for it to actually function. This is why misogyny still exists even when individual men are not sexist or consciously sexist, because the system needs it to survive. But here's where it gets deeper, and this is why your own spiritual awakening is an act of rebellion itself. For thousands of years, women were actually recognized as portals of life and divinity. We were the priestesses, the healers, the oracles. Our cyclical nature connected us to the cosmic rhythms, and our ability to create life made us sacred. The patriarchy had to systematically erase the spiritual authority in order to maintain control. They rebranded feminine intuition as hysteria. They called our connection to natural cycles unclean. They replaced goddess worship with male-dominated religions as spiritual systems that position women as the temptress, the subservient vessels, the property of men. I have had moments in my life where this has hit me personally, where I feel so deeply connected to my intuition and I'm getting some guidance, yet the environment around me made me doubt some of that inner wisdom that was coming through. And whenever we are young women and we don't have a very strong system of support around us, it's very, very easy to just submit into the masses, the environment, what's going on around, and dismiss our intuition because no one in the world really respects that or sees it as sacred. We have to realize that we have been programmed to distrust our own intuitive nature. Whenever you understand that your intuition, your emotions, your emotional intelligence, your cyclical wisdom are not weaknesses to overcome, but they're actually the source of spiritual superpowers, then everything changes in our life. You stop trying to succeed following masculine rules, and you start accessing your own authentic feminine power. But it starts with you. You are the one that has to first be able to see that divinity within. If you continue expecting it to come from the world, it's not gonna come. And I want to make a very important distinction in this conversation, and it's that men are not the enemy. They are fellow prisoners of a system that was designed to enslave all of us. Yet when men finally realize that women are not objects to control or compete with, but actual porters of life complementary to their own nature, they'll be able to wake up and see the real enemy. And the real enemy is an oppressive system that is destroying the planet, killing off humanity, and hoarding resources to continue exploitation and imperialistic destruction. I've watched this awakening happening with some of the men in my life whenever they stop seeing women as threats and start positioning them and recognizing the innate divinity that comes from feminine energy, the life-giving essence that comes whenever we honor our emotions and our feminine nature. Masculine and feminine energy lives in all of us regardless of our gender, but women are the portals, the guardians, and the teachers of feminine energy. A man that gets in touch with his feminine energy by learning to honor woman as divine and sacred starts questioning why he's working 80 hours a week, why he's making someone else rich by his own labor and force and life force and energy. He starts noticing how this system has systematically disconnected him from his purpose, his heart, his emotion, his children. And he realizes that the patriarchy needs us divided. Whenever we unite our masculine and feminine energies, first within, but also externally, with men and women coming together, not only romantically, but in business, in partnerships that are meant to create some projects, in communities, and in social movements, we will become unstoppable. Think about the most innovative companies. The most transformational movements. They actually come to fruition whenever masculine structure and drive unites effortlessly with feminine intuition and creativity. That's the real threat for the existing power structures. So how do we break free? Through what I like to call conscious feminism. This is about reclaiming your own divine feminine power while navigating the material world strategically. This isn't about rejecting man or rejecting success or burning down the business suits, but actually creating harmony, bringing consciousness into the heart of the flourishing of feminine energy that's happening, and being very mindful of the possible triggers that might come up whenever we hear the word feminism, especially in spiritual circles. That's why I like to put the caveat of like conscious feminism, because we do have to acknowledge and identify that there has been a power disimbalance in the relationship between men and women. We cannot spiritual bypass that and just say like it's all one, it's all perfect, it's all part of the joke, the cosmic joke. We do have to acknowledge that we come from thousands of years of repression, and no one's saying that men is the enemy. And even though this conversation is very difficult to digest for most people because it's threatening their entire identities and the way that they operate in the world, it's a very important conversation to have. So how can you personally begin to implement this? Well, first of all, you can start by trusting your intuition, especially when it comes to business decisions or your intuition whenever it comes to spaces that are male dominated, because that's where you'll be able to not only feel it the most, but see its contrast. And once we see the contrast, then we can bring in presence into that separation. And through presence, we can create that inner harmony, which will eventually become external harmony. Bring intuition into your work. Think of the gut feeling that you get about either a client, a boss, a presentation, or the creative solution that comes to you during meditation to a big problem that you have to solve whenever you are deeply immersed in the masculine systems. Because these are not fluffy concepts. This is literally your divine guidance system being activated. I've met some of my best career moves following my own feminine wisdom rather than conventional logic. And even though I stay very grounded now, in the past I didn't, but I'm able to stay very grounded now, it's important to let the feminine lead and then the masculine in us support wherever the feminine in us wants to go. Second thing that you can do is begin embracing your own cyclical nature instead of fighting it. Get in touch with your moon cycle. This is the beginning stages of finding your own freedom and reconnecting with your feminine power. This patriarchal system tells us to be consistently productive machines, to just go for it day after day, but feminine energy moves in waves and we have to respect those waves and learn how to surf them. So honor your natural rhythms. Fight for your natural rhythms to create enough space for them. You can start small. You can start by, if you have the ability to do so, scheduling important meetings during your power cycles, whenever you are ovulating, whenever you feel the most alive and most energized. And then use your reflective times, menstruation, letting go, whenever everything opens up, for strategic planning, for designing the behind the scenes and the structure of your creations. And finally, support other women's works and see them not as competitions, but as sisters in this awakening that we're all going through. Every time that you can celebrate another woman's success, another woman's courage, or every time that you refuse to participate in female competition, you are literally dismantling this system. So let's do a quick recap of what we discovered today. Misogyny isn't random male hatred towards women. It's a calculated weapon to keep women and men enslaved to the system that benefits only a few individuals. The patriarchy has deliberately stripped women of their own spiritual authority and divinity in order to maintain control. Because controlling religion and God is the most powerful way of controlling an entire population. Men are not the enemy. They are fellow victims that, when awakened, become very powerful allies for the feminine awakening. And your path through freedom can be found through conscious feminism, reclaiming your divine feminine power while still strategically navigating the material world. Whenever you truly embody this understanding, you're gonna stop playing by the rules designed by the ones in power to continue the exploitation of humanity and the planet. You're also going to start accessing ancient feminine power that has been dormant for thousands of years, that can transform not only your life, but the entire world. And this is what I teach inside my High Voltage Woman program, because that's where we go deep into the Venusian Tantra process, which is a process of transforming all of your emotional wounds and ancestral wounds into raw power for your creativity, leadership, and magnetism. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper into this work, I have a special gift for you today. I created a free ebook called Discover Your Power Archetype that is going to help you identify which is the dominant archetype within you that is going to become an ally and a vehicle for you to truly embrace your feminine power. This isn't your typical just random archetypes. This is a synthesis of Chakra Tantra, Jungian psychology, evolutionary astrology, and shamanism, and together we designed the Venusian Tantra system and then the power archetypes, which live in every single woman and become mental constructs that will allow you to safely feel more empowered and safer in your life and in the world. The link to grab the free ebook is in the description box below. And I promise you that connecting with this power archetype is going to change the way that you see yourself and the way that you feel, because this is a vehicle where you can start claiming your divine authority. So make sure that you grab it. And that takes us to the conclusion of today's episode. I would love to hear from you. What point from today's conversation hit the most? Was there a particular thing that felt a little bit crunchy and uneasy, or did this feel like a truth in your body? I know this is a very loaded subject, so I would love to hear from you. Feel free to share in the comments below. And with that, I leave you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.